Crazy, right? It's been 1 year since I've been a content creator here on YouTube as a full-time position, and I thought I would pose the question to my Patreon supporters. Hey, I've been doing this full-time for a year. What questions do you have? And boy, did they come through. So let's talk about that, and let's AMA 1 year on YouTube full-time, right here on 3D Printing Nerd. This episode of 3D Printing Nerd is sponsored in part by my supporters on patreon.com. High five! I was checking, and in this past year, being full-time, we released 147 videos for your viewing pleasure. That averages more than 2 per week. Wow, that's an interesting stat. And beyond all that, there's a whole bunch of after the 5 videos that I released for my High Five Club, and it's a good target. Let's aim for more of that this year. This is from my very first year on YouTube. This is from my very first video series. This is what brought me into this content creation. But what we're talking about is the last 12 months, the last year of being full-time, the last year of traveling, being awesome places, meeting awesome people, and these questions from my Patreon supporters. So let's not dilly-dally. Let's get right into it. The first question from Fernando says, I have a question. How do you promote for content to get more followers? It's always an interesting question, and it's always one of those tough things because how do you get yourself out there to get more people viewing your content? How do you get what you make out there in front of more eyeballs? Some people will tell you to promote Instagram posts, to promote tweets, to tag people in everything that you can tag them in. For me, when I first started out, what I did was be a part of Facebook groups. 4 years ago, that was the thing. I would ask questions, I would leave comments, I would try to be as helpful as possible. I would also watch videos that other people had made, and I would try to leave comments on those videos to be helpful or try to offer alternatives or to just generally be a part of the conversation. And what I found is that being a part of the conversation in a positive way, no matter the social platform, will tend to get you more eyeballs on your content. If people see that you're being helpful and supportive and positive, they're gonna wonder about you and they're gonna click your profile or they're gonna go look and see what you've made. I know that when people, even now, when they leave helpful comments, awesome comments, if they have legitimate questions, I'll wanna find out a little bit about them. And so I'll click their name. And if it's on Twitter, I'll see their profile or Instagram or YouTube or whatever. I will see a little bit of information about them, learn about them, perhaps even follow them or try to interact with them at a later date, just because that's how we build this community. So Fernando, to answer your question, be a positive force in the community that you want to get your content recognized in. It won't go as fast as you want, I guarantee it, but you will make traction and you will make a difference and you will get your content seen. From David Simmons, dude, I recently filed notice at a job I've had for 12 years, not to be a content creator, of course, but senior director position at another company. Not sure how long you're at Adobe, but must have been a tough decision. I have my reasons and my tipping point for moving on, but I'm curious, what finally was your tipping point to move into unknown territory from the safety of the born? Whew, boy, that was a question right there. The tipping point for me was that I was essentially working 2 full-time jobs. I had my Adobe job over here, and then I had my 3D Printing Nerd job over here. And Adobe took care of 9 to 5, 9 to 6, and then come home, and then some family time, and then kids and wife would go to sleep, and then my second full-time job would begin. I had 2 things that I needed to do. I needed to be sure that my kids wouldn't have to fight over a ramen packet for a meal. I wanted to make sure that they could, and everybody could eat, right? I wanted to make sure food was available. And the other thing was I had to make sure that everyone in my family could go see a doctor. I know that in the US, sometimes that can be an issue with our health system, but, and people from other countries are sometimes like, what? That's a concern? That's crazy. Yes, it is, but it is a concern. And so once my family could eat, I could make sure they could eat if I quit my job, and they could see a doctor if I quit my job, then we went for it. The tipping point, though, really came when I was working too hard. I was working too much, and I wasn't getting enough rest. I would get these crazy migraine headaches, and I was starting to forget some words, which is not a good thing. And I actually saw a neurologist, and the neurologist, no joke, said, you know what, Joel? You need to quit your job. Best advice I've ever been given. So right now, as it stands, I quit my job. And since then, since quitting my job, whereas I would have a migraine headache 3-4 times a week, now I can count on one hand the number of bad headaches I've had in a year, in a 12-month span. That really was the best advice I've ever been given. Stas writes, is there a type of content that works better for different regions? Example, product reviews do better in the US versus making projects doing better in the UK. Large prints have bigger viewership in India, etc. That's actually a really, really good question. And I don't think, as far as my analytics show, that certain content is working better in certain regions. I think that it's more age and demographics that work better for certain content for what I'm doing. I think what's great is the internet has democratized the ability for people to consume the content that they want. And so we're finding, at least for me, that it doesn't matter where you live in the world. If you want to see certain type of content, you can find it. So now all we have to do is find out who wants to see what type of content. And it tends to go along the lines of gender and age so far. And according to my statistics, my viewership is anywhere between 92 and 95% male. And I can, via analytics, see that 18 to 44-year-olds make up 70% of my viewership. Jimmy Shaw, he writes, happy anniversary and congratulations on doing what you love for a living. Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate that, buddy. 2 questions from him. Do you ever have days that you regret going full-time? And 2, when was the first time you came to the realization that quitting your day job to follow your dream was a possibility? Let's address them in order here. 1, yes, absolutely. There are days where I regret going full-time on YouTube. Part of that is just because with a job or a day job, right? It's a regimented thing. It's a 9 to 5. It's a Monday through Friday. It's safe. You know, there's vacation days and health insurance and coworkers and a collaborative team that produce something. And so there are times, you know, when there have been deadlines and it's been 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm tired of it. And I would rather go work for someone else. That doesn't happen that often. But when a big bill comes in or we haven't met our insurance deductible and the kids hurt themselves, it's like, oh, this just hurts. Man, am I doing the right thing? But, over time, I have to make sure that I take those lows with some of the highs where it's like, hey, you know what? I get to go take my kids to school. I can help pick up my kids from school. I don't have to take time off in order to go to one of my kids' sporting events. It's just, the highs are incredible compared to the lows. They really, really overpower the lows. For the second question though, when was the first time I came to that realization? It was when I hit 100,000 subscribers. I thought that the emotion that went through that. I remember sitting at my desk at Adobe, watching the counter roll. And as soon as it rolled over, just a tweet storm and text messages and people just like, this is amazing. Congratulations, Joel. This is awesome. And I know that subscribers don't really mean too much here on YouTube. In fact, according to analytics of my views, 70% of the views that I have on my channel are from people that aren't subscribed to the channel. So, if you want to subscribe, it's great. But if not, if you just want to watch my content, you don't want to subscribe, that's totally fine too. But hitting that milestone, it just felt different. And it felt like YouTube cared about me a micro percentage more. And it felt like I could really have a chance here. Yes, obviously I was part of AdSense, so and Patreon, and people, I was making revenue from this, and thankfully because I had a day job that I was able to tuck away a lot of this, but I gotta tell you, hitting 100, I was like, you know what? This is a thing. Maybe this works.Maybe this is what I do. And that was one of those things. I mean, there were parts along the way where I was like, I could do this. I could do this. I could really do this. But hitting 100K in subscribers really, really sold it. That was it right there. Kevlar Condom, we know him as Adam. I was proud to be the voice of rational thought over pizza last year. That's the hard part, making it work. It's been a joy supporting you. Best to the future. Adam is one of the kindest people I know. And it also helps that he loves to buy lots of cool things and is very scientific in nature. And he is a good dude, really supportive too. What he's mentioning there about the pizza, when I filmed the video about the Airo 3D, that metal kind of powdery 3D printer, I needed someone to run camera, and Adam has worked in television before, so he was no problem. He said, hey, I'll come down, I'll help you, I'll run that camera. After we were done, we went to pizza at the Rock in Renton, and we just had a wonderful conversation over pizza. And I gotta tell you, there are many reasons why I'm successful at what I do today, and one of those reasons is Kevlar condom, also known as Adam. John says, if you had to get rid of every 3D printer you own except one, which one would you keep? And would you have answered the same a year ago? That's a really good question. I think a year ago, I probably would have said my G-Max 1.5 XT Plus. The reason I say that is because I've worked with Gordon and Anna over a long time. They're two of my really good friends now. That machine is the reason a lot of really cool stuff has been produced for my episodes on the channel. I mean, really, it prints great things, really big. It prints small things just fine. I love that machine, but present day, if I had to give up everything, I would keep the Prusa i3 Mark III 3D printer. A lot of other machines that I've used and tested have been wonderful and produced great things, but man, there's just something about that Mark III. It's just been a workhorse. And I just checked stats. One of them, it's had 100 days of printing on it. That's not too shabby, right? 100 days of printing. I would probably pick the Mark III today. Trasiva says, do you have any plans to engage more with your Patreon audience a la Discord again? We'd love to have you in there for your insights and wisdom. Discord is interesting. I don't get it. And I'll just say that right now. I don't know if it's because I'm old or if it's because I'm some sort of fuddy-duddy or whatever, but I just don't. I know Discord is another platform, and I know that some creators have amazing success with Discord. Someone reached out to me and created a Discord for me and then invited me into it, but I haven't been logged into there in months. Perhaps I just need a class or a course or something, because right now I maintain, obviously, YouTube comments, business email, Twitter, business Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, business Facebook, and then Patreon here. So if there's a way for me to integrate Discord into my workflow, I would love to make it more a part of it. I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'm going to use this as an excuse to take the plunge, make sure that I have the Discord client installed on my production machine. And you know what? This is my new phone. I'll put Discord on this. I'll make sure we're good to go. And who knows? I'll see what I can do. I really, really want to. So, I mean, thanks for pointing that out, and thanks for the inspiration. Jan writes, which of your printers have you modded the most, and which mod would you say was the most important? Boy, that's a really good question. I haven't really done a lot of printer mods on the show because that's just not something that I've focused on. I mean, I did mod the Pulse with a bread clip, or a bread clip, whatever it is. It's over there. I did... Boy, I'm looking around. Let's see. I've installed some nozzles, right? So I don't know. I think that if that's something that you want to see more of on the show here, then please make that aware, because I would love to be able to do more mods and more upgrades and more things. You know, I visited Chuck when I was out in Michigan, visiting Chuck and Sean. Chuck, I got to stop by his shop and see his print farm, and it's very, very inspiring to see all of these machines and the modifications you can do to them. And I would love to be able to do that. So if that's something that you want to see, yes, just let me know, please. Charles writes, how did you become aware or comfortable with the notion that 3D printing tech journalism is what you want to do and spend your time on going forward? It's actually a really good question. I don't know. I've always been comfortable in front of a camera, and I've always been told, Joel, you have a radio voice. And I've been on the radio before. It's been fun. And I'm comfortable talking to people. And if I can use that comfort to inspire people to do really cool stuff, like get into 3D printing or additive manufacturing or making in general or engineering in general or a STEM program or whatever, then I should use that. And that's what I like. That's what I love. That's what I love about it. So how did I become aware? How did I become comfortable? I don't know. It's just ever since growing up, I was always comfortable in front of a camera. I always loved tech. I always loved taking pictures, shooting video, and I was always the one that was able to explain complex technical things in a way that my mom could understand. So I guess it's just how I was born. I was just born to do this. Look, a message from Ron here. I just want to wish you to have a great one-year anniversary. No questions come to mind at the moment. Thanks for the helpful info. Ron has been an amazing supporter, one of the cool dudes that's supporting me via Patreon, leaves lots of really good comments. A big thanks to Ron. Appreciate it, buddy.
High five. Great.
Here's something from Chuck. What was the biggest positive surprise and biggest negative surprise you experienced after you quit and went full-time with YouTube? The biggest positive surprise was probably I got to do this. And I know that's not really the biggest surprise, but I think it was amazing that I just, like, month after month, I just kept being able to do this. There were no surprises that came along that were this ultra positive thing, just specifically about doing YouTube and being a content creator in general. The positive just happened, and I don't know how to answer the positive part of that, Chuck. It was just, there wasn't one big positive surprise that really drove anything home. Everything has just been, for the most part, wonderful, but it hasn't been a surprise. So I don't know of a good way to answer the positive part of it. But the biggest negative surprise would probably be being a sole proprietor and preparing for the taxes that are associated with that. My wife and I, we have an accountant that handles the business side, and she also does our personal tax returns. This tax year was interesting because for 11 of the months of 2018, I was a sole proprietor, 3D Printing Nerd LLC, and there's a lot of taxes that go into self-employment, and I tried to keep some money, but I didn't know exactly how much to keep, and that's my own fault. I could have not been surprised just by being better prepared, but now that we've gone through this tax season, and the accountant has said, you're good, don't worry, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Now I can be better prepared for next year's tax season and not have that negative surprise. Frank says, think you need some fan mail and candy from South Africa. What do you say about that? That actually sounds interesting. Fan mail has been wonderful to get. I finally have the P.O. box and I don't have to send all the mail to my coffee shop. And I did have to move fan mail over to the secondary channel, but the whole point of that was because analytics showed that it wasn't something that could be sustained on the main channel. And, I hope to grow it on the secondary channel. And if it grows big enough, or if I grow the bigger channel big enough, maybe it can come back. I don't know, but candy and mail from South Africa, that would be pretty cool. I've got mail from Europe and Asia, here in the US, of course. Have I got some from South America? Now I don't know. I don't know if I've gotten any from any African countries. No fan mail from the South Pole. I'm sorry, but maybe we could get that. But yes, fan mail, South Africa. Please, I like candy. I do. James asks a very interesting question. Are you getting more sleep now that you don't have 2 full-time jobs? Right off the bat, I do want to say yes, no. I am, in that sometimes I sleep in more. If I get things prepared, I can go to bed earlier. But inspiration for making stuff just happens at any time. And it's just now that this is happening that I'm realizing this, that if I can change my environment to make it more conducive to the process or the inspiration that when it happens, then maybe I can get it done faster, easier, cheaper, smarter, instead of having to move stuff out of the way. Like, legit, the camera, everything is here, right? Everything is here that you see. But what you don't see is the giant pile of stuff on the ground and the stuff stacked over there. And in fact, right here is a model for the next video I have to shoot on my desk, but you can't see it. Everything, so whatever the camera sees, I just sort of clean that. So what I'm trying to do is make it a little bit more tidy, but I have to realize that, as Bob said in a Bits video, some of the spare parts or some of the spare pieces of wood is what he was talking about. Sometimes you can keep some of it, but some of the stuff you're keeping is garbage and you should throw it away. And once I got that into my head, we started cleaning up and organizing, and my office is going to get better. The garage is already better, and you'll see that soon. So hopefully that sort of thinking leads me to getting some better sleep. Dave asks, well, he says, congrats on the first year. I'd like to know how much of a balancing act there is in deciding between the type of content you personally enjoy making versus the content you create that you think will boost the channel. And that is the problem statement for almost every single creator here on the YouTube platform. You want to create content a certain way. In fact, I've had conversations with Angus over at Maker's Muse about that. It's like, do what you want, create the content you want and attract the audience for that content. But at the same time, sponsored videos are a thing, and not every sponsored video is something that sparks the creative process, right? Sometimes you just have to do work, and that right there is work. I'm always going to be truthful with you, my audience, and I would never take sponsorship for a product or a service that I wouldn't personally or don't personally use myself. But, it is a job. You have to make money, and sometimes you have to create the content that isn't exactly the content you want to make at the time. Every once in a while, though, something happens and I'm able to make really cool stuff. My imagination sparks. I have an idea and I just want to get it done. But sometimes I have to put that to the side just because a paycheck needs to be made and content has to be made. Thankfully, here on this channel, it's very focused on 3D printing, additive manufacturing, making in general. So typically, the content that I want to make is content that will do well on the channel. Typically, as an example, I want to do a lot more stuff with my laser cutter. I have a full spectrum Muse and I have a lot of really cool ideas for that. But laser cutting content, according to analytics, doesn't do well on a channel called 3D Printing Nerd. So what I need to do is either spice up that content because I want to make it, but make it in a different way that appeals to a 3D printing centric audience, or I move that specific content over to the secondary channel, which is called Technically Nerdy, which has a broad scope and can cover a lot more things. I don't know. I guess that's it. That's the crux of it right there. Brent poses a good question. How do you choose what kind of filament to print with? There is so much to choose from and it's very hard for me. I'm sorry, Brent. Well, I typically print with PLA because it's super easy. It's available from an enormous number of manufacturers at very high quality levels with all sorts of really cool additives in it. I work with Protopasta. They put all sorts of crazy stuff in there. Matter Hackers Pro line is wonderful. ColorFab still makes great stuff. Filamentum is some of the prettiest filament you'll ever see. Strong Hero 3D has the rainbowy stuff. Asta Filament, which they sent into the channel, was surprisingly really good. The Prusa filament that he puts out is wonderful. So I go to pick a color. That's the main thing. I'm like, do I have this color? Yes, I have it. Okay. What machine do I want to print this on? That one. Okay. 9 out of 10 times I'll probably pick PLA. But right now, like the Ultimaker 2 downstairs is printing in the MVO Engineering carb-loaded PET. That's great, specifically because the application called for a PET part. Otherwise, like the Ultimaker 3 right next to it, is printing 2 different colors of PLA, one from Protopasta, one from Filamentum. So don't, if it's tough for you, just pick a good color and make sure it's a type of filament that'll work with the printer you have, and then just print all the things. Don't let the choice of a filament bog you down. A lot of filament is good out there. In fact, a lot of filament is really good out there right now. So just pick a filament. There's a good chance it'll be good, and then print the things with it. And then don't let that impede your creativity. This next question from Jay, it's a little bit longer. He says some awesome stuff at the beginning, but let's get to the crux of what he's asking. He's not shy, and he gives talks, but he's apprehensive about making a video. And he said, for people these days to pay attention, do you need a studio and lights and a microphone? Is a high-res webcam not good enough anymore? Curious what you think about people trying to start out on the recorded video side of things. Any tips you can recommend to start out? Typically, you're going to hear someone from saying, you can make YouTube with anything. In fact, the camera on your phone is probably better than most of the stuff out there. And while that is true, and it will work, just remember that people want to see passion. They want to see heart. And if you're just standing there and you're talking kind of like this, and the scene never changed, and the audio is a little bit muted, and the camera doesn't, the color's not calibrated. That's good content, but it's not great content. So make it great. Make sure you impure the video with your wonderfulness. A microphone helps. Like I run a Sennheiser AVX Lav right now, and it goes to my Zoom H6 over there, which is recording it on a separate audio stream. In front of me right here is a Canon XF400. That's also recording with Scratch Audio. I then use Pluralize to put it all together in Premiere, and then I give it to Sean, and Sean edits it up. Use what you have. Don't let the equipment hold you back. If you have a phone, put it on a tripod, get your angles right, and record it. If you have a microphone, that's great. Add that to that mix, right? If you have a secondary camera, maybe add that in and then cut between them. The ability to produce good content shouldn't be limited by your technical ability. You should use whatever you can to tell an effective story. Sometimes compositing in a dragon breathing fire, that makes it a more compelling story. I'm probably guessing you don't need a dragon breathing fire composited in, so just use what you have. And then if you start to get good at it, or you really like it, or there's a little bit of money coming in from that, start to set some money aside and then start upgrading equipment that you think is necessary. Don't, look at other videos, and not everyone needs a Red camera. Not everyone needs a boom mic and an audio person. They help for productions, but don't let that be your limiting factor. In fact, you know what? Maybe one of these days I just shoot an entire episode on my cell phone. We'll see what happens. Bill actually has a really good question here. I'm wondering if it's time to take 3D printing maker phenomenon to broadcast media like national cable with a regular show. Have you had any talks? Is it part of the 5-year plan? I feel you have the personality and charisma to be a great host and ambassador of an excellent community of personalities and content to offer. Just think what you could accomplish with those production resources. Just think. That would be amazing. That would literally be amazing. Let's see. So part of the 5-year plan, I've always thought that being some sort of host on television would be wonderful. It would be a great thing. I would love doing that. Part of what I love about this is anytime I get to work with someone else and we're a team and we're working on stuff, like when I was in New York and I was at Maker Faire and I was filming Joseph Prusa's booth, and he was talking about the SL1, the resin printer from Prusa. I had Sean behind the camera and I had David, my executive producer, giving tips and hints and yelling cut and start and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. If I could ever elevate this business to be able to afford to create a production company that could then employ people, I would do it in a heartbeat. I haven't had any conversations yet with any national networks or whatnot, but man, that would be a bunch of fun. LFG says, do you ever do any local meet and greets? Are there any local Seattle area meetups for makers? And is there a listing anywhere of all the maker type conferences that occur across the nation? There is a local Seattle area YouTubers thing. I know Barnacle went to it. I didn't get a chance to go to it. I don't know of any local meet and greets in the Seattle area. And I don't know of a list. You can go to, I think, makerfair.com. I think makerfair.com lists the different maker fairs that are available nationwide and worldwide. But other than just general maker lists, I don't know of anything. If I find anything, obviously, I'll disseminate it. I'll tell everyone about it. But right now, I don't know. Sorry. Oh, Katya's there. I got to meet Katya at New York one time, and she is a wonderful human. I hope you know who Katya is. Congratulations, dear Joel. I would like to know how much you are traveling and how many countries you have traveled for business within that year. That's a good question. So traveling, let's see. So since I've gone full time, so in the last 12 months, I've traveled to California for Matter Hackers. I went to Colorado for Diabase. I went to New York for Voodoo and New York Maker Faire, Bay Area Maker Faire in California. I flew into Philadelphia for Printed Solid in Delaware. I flew into Boston for Gillette. I connected in Germany and then to the UK in Worcester. So for Siemens. Have I gone anywhere else? Well, I guess I did go to CES. This year, I really want to make it back to the UK. I would like to go to London. I would like to visit Sweden. I would like to visit Daniel Noré. I would like to visit Tom. I'd actually like to visit Simon in Sweden as well. I would like to visit E3D in the UK, and I would like to go to Prague and take a tour of Prusa's factory. I think that would be fun. Besides Bay Area Maker Faire, New York Maker Faire, Midwest Rap Festival, I think that would be, God, that'd be a bunch of fun. I don't know if I'll make it out, but I do have my passport now, so anything is possible. Everett Jan does make a comment here saying don't go into broadcast because it would limit things to being US only. But I want to make sure you, my audience, knows, and I want to make sure Everett knows as well. If I ever do anything that is beyond YouTube as a content delivery system, so if I ever do broadcast, then I wouldn't cease doing things for this channel. Doing things for this channel, if that ever happened, could evolve, but you are my audience. You are my supporters. You are the people that make this possible. So I would continue to give you content. At least that would be the plan. That would, if I went into any sort of discussions, that would be one of the talking points right there, because I wouldn't want to stop doing this. This is fantastic, and I love you all. Oh, and then Everett says, perhaps you can make a video on what it takes to make a video, from idea to posting on YouTube, including the editing from Sean. Love to see your family. Sometimes makes it personal, not a clean business. I love being able to show off my family as well. There's a video coming out. I did some work with SolidWorks, and I get to showcase my wife and some of my kids and what they're able to do. I have an idea for a See Me CNC video where the kids are going to be involved. They really enjoy this. They have a lot of fun. I try to bring them along because it's a lot of fun. And I mean, my wife and kids, they're sweet. They are wonderful people. So I like being able to do that. As far as being able to make a video, what it takes to make a video, that is in the works. And I hope to have that sooner rather than later. But yes, that is in the works. Dean says, do you ever think I'm mad and I should quit? And if so, how do you motivate yourself? All the time. Look, there's this thing called imposter syndrome. Every person on YouTube experiences that at one point or another. And part of, for me, to motivate myself is just to kind of get some ideas and talk to people through Twitter and Facebook and just the people I know. If someone has an idea or there's a cool model out, I'm like, you know, I'm going to print that. Ooh, I'm going to film that as a time lapse. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to do a video on that. That's just kind of how it works. Part of the motivation factor is just being able to tidy up and clean up, because I have a lot of stuff and it's all over. But the garage makerspace little side is coming together. This is being cleaned up a little bit. The office is being cleaned up. So we're gonna see some highly motivated content that I've been wanting to make for a long time very, very soon. This is a great question from Dave here. How do you decide on future projects, and how far in advance is your planning? Do you have a batch of subjects that are always bubbling under that can be pulled to the front at a short notice? Yes and no. Sometimes I plan a few weeks in advance, just when I have, when it's a sponsored video or when someone's paying for the content, then there's approval processes. So that has to be planned weeks, months in advance sometimes. Sometimes it'll be Tuesday, my night, and it'll be Tuesday, and I'm like, Sean, I'm filming in a few hours. I promise I'll get you the footage as soon as possible. And then Sean whips it out, gets it done, and then I produce the video on Wednesday. So I would love to have more pre-planning. Thank you. It just hasn't happened yet. I have a list of ideas that I'd love to execute, but you know, I have a lot of those lists and they exist in some state or another in a bunch of different places. Martin actually has a really good question here. As I do have Sean to edit videos for me, how is the workflow having an external editor, meaning not in the same house? How do you share the data to be edited? Are you using software solution for it, etc.? So part of that will get explained in the video that I've planned, where it's how to make a YouTube video, but I can tell you right now. So Sean's in Michigan, I'm here in Seattle. I will film everything, and then I will ingest all the footage to my computer, assemble it together in a project, sync it up if need be, and if I have time, put together a rough edit. And then I will either leave notes in the software or create a notes.txt file. And then that all gets shoved over into a shared Google Drive that I have with Sean. Sean syncs it down, does the edits, and then syncs back any changes he's made and any additional footage elements he's added. That gets synced back, and then I bring that up. I watch it down. I then change anything if I need to change anything, and then I render it. So that's how that works. Having that Google Drive is handy, and Premiere's ability to create proxy footage, which is like 1/10 of the size of the normal footage. It works fantastically well. So that's worked out well. I hope to detail that more in the future because I think it's very valuable, but there are ways that are very, very inexpensive. Like with Google Drive, I think I pay $10 a month for 2 terabytes, 10 or 20, I don't even remember, but it's inexpensive and allows us to share back and forth and do some pretty awesome stuff. Chris with the important questions here. Congrats, Joel. Without getting into details, have you replaced your previous income you were making at Adobe, or is that something you're still chasing? I was a software engineer in test at Adobe, and I can say that I was compensated very well. Adobe is a great company that pays well. No, I'm not at the level I was when I was at Adobe, but I am working towards that. I haven't fully replaced that income, but expenses have changed. So, well, as an example, the kids can still eat, and the kids can still see a doctor. I mean, we still are able to put gas in our vehicles, and you know, the lights are on, so that's good. I think that it's different. So I think that as a full-time job, you can't just say have an income replacement strategy. I think that as if you have a full-time job and you move to being a sole proprietor and have your own small business, rather than having an income replacement strategy, you need to have some way of growing your business and have a revenue generation strategy. And that's something I'm unfortunately still working on. It's not the easiest thing. It's weird because when you're a sole proprietor, you are your own marketing team. So you have to be all about self-promotion, but you don't want to be a jerk about it. And like, I'm selling t-shirts, selling merch as an example. I don't want to pound you over the head every day being like, hey, buy my t-shirt if you want it, or buy this or buy that, or use my affiliate links. It's a necessary evil. I hate doing that. But if you find yourself needing a shirt, or if you want to use my affiliate links, that would be much appreciated. Thanks, Chris. There we go. A big thanks to everybody on my Patreon that was able to ask a question. If you'd like to become a Patreon, or if you're interested in what we do over there, you can go to patreon.com/3D printing nerd, and you'll see that there's the High Five Club, which has access to After the Five, the segment that I produce after more videos. There's also, I'm just trying to post there more behind the scenes, day-to-day stuff, maybe even some vloggy stuff. We'll see. But again, patreon.com/3D printing nerd. Thanks for coming with me on this little AMA. That was a lot of fun. I'm glad that I was able to get some cool questions from some people out there. Again, thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you're not. Ring that bell if you could. Don't forget to hug each other more. I love you guys, as always. High five.